Hey folks, welcome back to this week's edition of Hunting Matters, brought to you by the Houston Safari Club Foundation. We are right on top of convention season. The big annual convention's coming up, so if you're watching or listening to this podcast, please don't forget to go to WeHuntWeGive.org and learn everything about convention. You can buy Expo Hall day passes at the door, or if you want to go to the banquets, the banquet registration, as at the airing of this show, will have been closed online, but check in at the registration desk at convention. We still have just a few seats available for some of the banquets that are coming up Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, and then our ladies' luncheon on Sunday. But regardless, you need to come on out, bring your friends and family for the expo. We will have hundreds of exhibitors from all over the world. Anything hunting, fishing, and outdoors that you want to see is going to be there. So we're very excited about that. So check out the website at WeHuntWeGive.org and click on the convention drop-down button, and we hope to see you there at convention. This week we're joined by our guest, James Lofton. James is the immediate past president of the Houston Safari Club Foundation, and he is the this year's 2026 Hunting Awards Chairperson. So we're going to talk a little bit with James about his personal background, his hunting journey, and also his journey through service through various organizations in the outdoors. So James, thanks for joining us today.
Glad to be here.
I'm glad you found the place, found the studio. Yeah. It's sometimes hard to find. So I want to talk to you a little bit about your experiences through the Houston Safari Club Foundation, of course. But let's talk a little bit about some of your early influences and some of your background. You spent over 25 years as an ambassador for the hunting and shooting sports world. Take us back to the beginning. What were your earliest experiences outdoors? And I believe it was your father who was one of your biggest influences in outdoors.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about that.
So, looking back, I remember being in the bottom of a deer blind when I was, I think, about 3 years old. My dad was always an avid deer hunter, and I wanted to be with him. So I remember being on the bottom with my coloring book and blanket and staying warm, and whenever the deer would come out, Dad would let me know, and I'd get up on his lap and start watching the animals. And that was the beginning of my hunting journey. And then, of course, as I got old enough and was able to carry my first BB gun, yeah. I hunted armadillos in the Texas Hill Country, and practiced my stalking skills, and of course just worked up from there. Quail, rabbit, squirrel, and eventually was able to take my first deer when I was 7 years old.
What was that like? The first deer? Was it a doe? Was it a buck?
It was a little spike. Yeah. It was a little spike, and we had a deer lease right outside of Marble Falls, Texas. So, that area is just loaded, with deer. So it was always one of those things when you hunted on that lease. Wasn't a matter of if you were going to get your deer. It's just what kind of deer you were going to get. But it was just lots of deer. So great opportunity as a young hunter. You weren't going to be bored. We were sitting in a little ground box blind, little homemade box blind, and it was the late season, and the ranch manager told my dad that, hey, you know what, we need to take a few more does and spikes. Yeah. So one came out, and I was using a M1 30 caliber carbine.
Wow.
Iron sight that was my granddad's gun. And but it was small enough, it fit me, okay, and right. And I think that deer was probably about 35 yards away. It wasn't a very far shot. I made the shot. It didn't go very far, fell down, and I remember just that feeling of just elation, and and then looking at the joy on my dad's face, right. too, and that's kind of what started this journey, and just kind of the little fun fact, like I said, this was late in the season, and I was so proud of my first buck. It was just, it had like 3-inch spikes. Right. It wasn't very big. Yeah. And my dad grabbed a hold of one of those spikes to drag it out, yeah. and it came off in his hand. And I was heartbroken that he broke my antlers, but...
You broke my deer.
But that's what started the journey, and my father's been a huge influence. We still hunt together, and fortunate enough to still have him around. And we've had opportunities. Growing up, we always hunted in Texas, and then as I became an adult, we got to start venturing out of state, and We hunted in Colorado and Wyoming, and then I've had the fortune to be able to take him to Africa on his 70th birthday. So we had a great time.
That's
Great time
very
with that.
cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah, it's funny how you remember your first hunts. I remember the first animal I ever killed, a rabbit in a freak snowstorm in Louisiana. I remember every single detail of it. I've told this story before on this podcast about how I brought it in. I went, Mom, look, I shot this rabbit it was my grandfather's single shot 410.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do I do now? She skinned it out and made fried rabbit and biscuits for breakfast and gravy. And I was like, I can remember every bit of that. Same thing with my first deer.
Yeah.
Wasn't even big enough to hardly fill a cooler. It was a small doe, but it's strange how those things stick with you over the years.
The Houston Safari Club Foundation's Worldwide Hunting Expo and Convention is back. January 23rd to the 25th at the Woodlands Waterway Marriott. Explore worldwide hunting and fishing outfitters, gear, auctions, raffles, and banquets. $20 at the door, kids under 15, military and first responders free with ID. Learn more at WeHuntWeGive.org. Sponsored by Boyd's Gun Stocks, Capital Farm Credit, Copandero, DEA Ranch, Dex Imaging, Genus Logistics, Gunworks Revic, and Wildlife Partners.
You've often said that the outdoors is life's best classroom.
Oh, I firmly believe that.
What can you share with our audience some of the things that you've learned during your journey of hunting that you still apply in your day-to-day life?
So, I think the things that you learn about the outdoors, whether it's things that you yourself are doing, watching the animals, it's all about, everything is very calculated. I mean, you look at the animal world, right? It's all about survival, really, on a day-to-day basis, and the cautiousness that they place, and the they don't just do something just to do it. Usually, it's with a purpose.
Yeah.
And so, looking at that and just the order that nature has, for me as an engineer, that kind of fit right in. Mm-hmm. I believe there's an order to things.
Sure.
And so when I look at my daily life, that's what I try to do. I try to be very purposeful in what I do. Now, I do have a lot of fun, and I like to cut up and enjoy life. I think we work hard as a society, especially as Americans. I mean, we tend to work hard, mm-hmm. and I think it's good to play hard, too, to take benefit of the successes that we've had.
Yeah.
And honestly, the opportunities that this country gives us.
Yeah. Speaking of opportunity, you're over the years I've learned about one thing about you. You're very passionate about introducing new people to the outdoors. What is it, do you think, that first-time hunters need the most? Is it access? Is it confidence? Is it education? What are some of the things that, when you're introducing somebody new, whether it's a young adult, a child, or an adult to hunting, that you really try to focus on?
I would say it's three things. And yes, when I say I've been an outdoors ambassador, I mean from the time I was young, I was always telling people hunting is great, the outdoors is great, wildlife, our forest, our rivers, our lakes, they're so wonderful, and we ought to really treasure them. And so I've always reached out. I make a friend, and they're not an outdoorsman, I try to convert them. Mm. And generally what I found is it usually boils down to three things. One, access. That's something that if you haven't done it, you may not know, or you maybe have done it but just don't have the access. But one of the others is knowledge and skill sets. And when it comes to a sport like hunting where you're using a gun or a bow, if you haven't been raised and you haven't done it, it can be intimidating. Yeah. And somebody doesn't want to embarrass herself, or, man, I don't know if I'm good enough. I really don't even know how to operate it. Yeah. So having an introduction to that skill set and some knowledge is and that, to me, that's one of the easiest things to help someone overcome. And then just the encouragement and the understanding of the role that as outdoorsmen we play in the conservation of our country, of our wildlife, of our natural resources.
Yeah, I grew up shotgun and a rifle hunter. Never picked up a bow until I was in my mid to late 30s, and I know you're an avid bow hunter. And I remember the first time I walked in a bow shop, how intimidating it was, because not all bow shops are friendly.
Right.
These guys are they're behind the counter by themselves all the time, and they're working on stuff, and sometimes they're not the most sociable people.
Right.
But if you want them to fix your bow or to set your bow up correctly, that's the kind of person you want, somebody who's an expert. So I can see where that. No matter where you are in your hunting journey or your hunting lifestyle, when you start something new, it's kind of intimidating.
It is. Well, and I didn't start bow hunting until I was 15. So I had rifle hunted quite a bit, deer hunted, pigs, turkey, that sort of thing, but had not bow hunted. But I had friends who bow hunted, and what really kind of gave me the first opportunity is I was at a friend's house and digging in their closet for, I don't know, football or something. And I saw an old bow in the back of the closet. And it was an old Pearson recurve bow. And I pulled it out and I asked my friend's dad, I said, "Hey, tell me about this bow." And he goes, "Do you want it?" I would love to have it. I'd shot bows in camps and stuff like that. But so I got a new string for it, and he gave me some old arrows, actually wood arrows with the old grizzly tips on them. It was all old stuff, and so that's what I actually took on my first bow hunt to try to learn what to do, and I didn't know what to do.
Right.
But over the years, what I really enjoy about the bow hunting is I tell people that I hunted deer for a number of years before I started bow hunting. And I'd say I didn't really become an avid bow hunter until I was about 20. I just kind of tinkered around with it, did a lot of bow fishing. But, but as I became a better bow hunter, I went from being, someone that's hunted deer to somebody that actually starts knowing deer.
Yeah.
Because your whole MO changes. So, no, I still like rifle hunting. I don't have, any problem with how anybody wants to hunt.
Sure.
But, that added challenge for me personally just added even more satisfaction and really understanding the game that we chase. It was more fascinating doing it that way. But certainly challenges can exist, whether it's the archery world. One of the best places I found for people to learn to do archery is going to the local 3D tournaments. Because so many times you'll see guys that are, really great shooters, that maybe even ranked in the state or nationally, but they're all very friendly. And when somebody's kind of new and learning, and the coaching that they give is phenomenal.
Capital Farm Credit understands that there's something about the outdoors that pulls you in. Could be the fresh air, the colors, the smells, the animals, the freedom. It's all just a part of who you are. And with our recreational land loans, you can purchase land for whatever outdoor pursuit you please. That way, the outdoors won't just be in your soul, it'll also be in your name. To learn more, visit capitalfarmcredit.com. Together, we're better.
Yeah, I listen to Joe Rogan podcast occasionally. He calls it the art of archery and the art of bow hunting. It really is artistry when you do it right. And it's so funny when you release that arrow and you've made a perfect shot. It just, I don't know about you, but for me, from my chest to my fingers, my head, just the way the arrow is released and everything, I know that it's going to be a good shot.
Oh, yeah.
And then sometimes it's that uh-oh moment where I'm
right.
I let it go too soon or something happened, but it's almost an adrenaline rush when you do make that perfect shot, even before it hits the animal, and when you let it go, there's a feeling, a sensation for me. That's pretty cool.
That you made the great shot.
Yeah.
But typically that animal runs away.
Yeah.
And inside I'm always, was it that perfect shot?
It felt good.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, I'm looking at it, should be.
Yeah.
But and actually, I was talking to somebody recently and started looking back. Almost all of my largest trophy animals I've ended up taking with a bow.
Wow.
And it didn't really dawn on me till a couple years ago that was the case. But certainly it's been challenging at times, but extremely rewarding.
I want to talk about a big time deal, recent bow hunt that you went on here in just a little bit, but because I want to get the details behind it. Because we had your hunting partner on that accompanied you on this hunt before you guys went, and he was telling us a little bit. So we'll unveil that here in just a minute. But it's my first bow hunting experience was I went to a guy's camp. He invited me. I was 15. He put a bow in my hand. I didn't realize I was left eye dominant.
Oh,
it was a right-handed bow.
Is it a challenge?
Had a single pin, on it. It was an old recurve with a single pin on it, and I was like, I shot at a doe, but I missed it. And years later, I went, oh, duh, no wonder. Had no clue what I was doing. So, you being a longtime advocate of hunting and shooting sports, we kind of go all over the place on this podcast, but I'd be interested to know about what have you seen over the last couple of decades, the changes in shooting, sports, and hunting that have probably been the most visible and most relevant to you, as far as that goes?
So I would say in my lifetime, and I don't know if it was just the areas that I was involved in or the people I was around, but it seems to me, when I was young, a rifle was just a weapon you went hunting with.
Yeah.
Whereas you look at it today, the level of precision, the level of thought and detail that goes into a lot of hunters and shooters today seems to have really stepped up. And I know part of that is, the methodology in making the weapons has improved significantly. The optics have improved significantly. Laser rangefinders, all these things to allow us to be very precise. And I remember, and I don't remember who said the quote. Maybe it's Jack O'Connor or somebody, but somebody had said, well, guns are interesting. He said, no, correction, accurate guns are interesting. And I think in today's society, that's one of the things that we've seen is, the accuracy and ability of these weapons has just, dramatically improved. And don't get me wrong. I mean, obviously, people were extremely successful for a long time with basic weapons, and it's based on their hunting skills. But the confidence I think one has, when I sit at a range and I shoot a rifle and all 3 bullet holes are touching at 100 yards, I have a ton of confidence going out and hunting that animal and feeling like when I pull that trigger, I know exactly where that bullet's going to go, and I can make a clean, successful harvest, versus, hey, I shot it 3 years ago, and it's probably still on site.
Yeah.
So, to me, I think that's the evolution there and the care that most people that I know anyway put into making sure, are their weapons in tip-top shape and functioning to the best of their ability.
Hunting Matters is presented by Copendero Indoor Archery Pistol and Rifle Range, your premier indoor archery pistol and rifle shooting destination. Located in Oak Ridge North, right next to the Woodlands, Copendero offers 2 25-yard pistol ranges, a 100-yard rifle range, and a 25-yard archery range. Whether you're honing your skills or just starting, Copendero has everything you need, including rentals, classes, a retail store, an in-house cafe, and a VIP lounge. Join Copendero today for an unmatched shooting experience. To learn more, go to copendero.com. And now, I mean, 10 years ago, you'd have been, somebody said, I made a 1,000-yard shot. You probably would have heard a military sniper only saying that, and now you got people shooting 1,000 yards out of the box.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Not that...
It's still a very long ways.
But
it's not, if you've got the right weapon and you've got your scope dope dialed in, it's not difficult.
Right.
Now getting it to that point, loading up that that projectile, creating that round that will do it, and having that rifle that's capable of it is certainly there. But one of the things when I got our youth hunters, the ranch that we go to, we have targets out to 700 yards, and that's one of the things that we bring out. One of the guys brings out his long range rifle and dials it in, and we let these kids who have never hunted before, much less haven't shot much, and what they have is typically at 100 yards. Shoot at something that they can barely see, without the scope. So, but that creates a ton of confidence, when when they can do that,
Yeah.
then that's what we tell, okay, hey, look, that was difficult. Now, hunting at this short range, outside of the emotional
Sure.
aspect of it, the mechanics of it is going to be easy.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point, to build that confidence shooting up to 700 yards like that. Switching gears a little bit, so you are or have been members of a variety of different organizations: Congressional Sportsmen's Foundation, the NRA, Gun Owners of America, all those. And I know that you're well read and you're involved with those organizations just as much as you are with Houston Safari Club. What do you think right now in this day and age that are the biggest threats as well as the biggest opportunities to preserving hunting and gun rights in the U.S.?
Good question. There's always going to be the continuous threat. I think primarily in regards to, two ways, that they're threatening us. One, trying to take away our weapons. Trying to reduce the availability of the tools that we need for hunting. And then two, you have a lot of people with unrealistic expectations of what nature really is, or what it should be, and trying to shut down hunting, which devalues the animal, and will end up leading to one of a variety of problems, which typically ends in fewer of those animal species, whereas hunting is the best conservation tool. North America, the United States, has done such a fantastic job that a lot of other countries model what we do because of the success we've had in bringing back animals, because we made them a game animal. Or as hunters, I think we treasure animals, and so those are the challenges, and all we can do there's a segment of people we'll never convince otherwise.
Right, the anti.
Okay, that we'll just never convince, and it's almost a waste of time to try to, have a discussion with them, because it's probably not going to be a meaningful discussion. I think we ought to stand up, for what we believe in, but the key is helping the rest of the demographic, which because they're a minority. But really hunters are a minority, today too. Fortunately, the vast majority of people still support hunting because they remember dad or grandpa or somebody in their family did it, and they have positive feelings about it. So I think that's what we have to key in on, whether it's related to firearms or to hunting itself, is making sure that the people that don't necessarily do it or still have a positive aspect of it, they understand the value of it. Whether it's through seeing hunters donating meat to the Hunters for the Hungry, or different charitable programs, sharing the bounty, making sure that we are communicating the effectiveness of selective harvest and controlling animal populations through hunting methods. It's been a challenge for a long time. It's going to be an ongoing challenge. I think one of the things that we haven't always done a good job at on our side, that the antis, I think, beat us to the punch, but I think we're making a good comeback, is on really the whole social media side. Using legacy media as well as social media to get out your viewpoint. And so I'm glad to see our side is finally changing that. There's some great programs like the Outdoors Tomorrow Fund that we've supported over the years, that goes into schools and teaches youth about archery and marksmanship and hunting ethics. And I think those things are critical, that groups like ours need to continue to support.
Are you looking for an investment that goes beyond the ordinary? Wildlife Partners is the nation's leader in breeding and consulting for the exotic wildlife industry. When you invest in wildlife, you're not just acquiring a 100% tax-deductible asset, you're playing a vital role in the conservation of endangered species. Do you own land? You can turn your ranch into a profitable wildlife-driven business. And even if you don't own land, that's no problem. Wildlife Partners offers unique opportunities for non-landowners to invest in conservation while enjoying significant tax benefits and potential cash flow. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the social media piece. We've had many conversations on this program with people who are involved with social media. And the thing that I always like to impress upon people is if you're going to post respectively. You know, you're always going to have a segment of people that post images of animals that are not presented well, and just, you know, like you said, the anti-hunting groups are not going to. You're never going to change their mind. But the people who are not opposed to it see those pictures. Sometimes the way animals are positioned or people are positioned with those animals, or you know, just even sometimes repetitive kill shots and things like that. You know, I mean, I like all aspects of hunting, but I'm far enough along in my hunting journey and maturity that I understand there are some things people see that turn people off.
Right.
You know, so we got to. I think as a group of people who want to protect the future of hunting, that we have to be very mindful of what we're posting.
You know, I mentioned earlier, I feel like I've been an ambassador to the hunting world. Truly, anybody who posts anything on social media has become an ambassador of the hunting world. Could be good or bad, and I completely agree. You know, there's some of those things that maybe, you know, you want to share, you know, the performance of a certain projectile or something like that. Do that privately with your friends. You don't need to do that on social media.
Right.
But or do it on some private page, something, you know. But for the general public, yeah, let's make sure that they understand that we have respect for the animals and the gifts that God's given us that we get to, you know, harvest each year.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. You've been involved in a lot of charity events and leading charity events over the year. One of them is I believe it's the DFW Oilman's Tactical Shoot. What motivated you to found a shoot? Because we all know that putting on events is not easy.
Yeah. So I got to run that one for 9 years. I was the founder of it and ran it for 9 years, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. So what started that is I had moved to the Fort Worth area and in my career in the oil field, and there's several existing oil field groups that had different sporting clay shoots. I had previously run a sporting clay shoot in the Brazos Valley and thought, hey, I want to get involved. That was a lot of fun, and I just enjoyed doing that. Well, the problem is those groups were so solid, and so many people were already on the waiting list to volunteer to get in to be one of the helpers that I just wasn't going to get in. So I started thinking, okay, well, what else can I do? Let's expand the pie. Let's find another event. And I had been hearing about this 3-gun tactical shooting, and I had a lot of the toys, but I'd never really done it.
Yeah.
And so I'd heard that there was an oil field shoot in Houston, so a tactical shoot. So I attended that, and I thought, oh, this is fantastic. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Enjoyed this. Yeah. So I went right back up and called a lunch together with a bunch of my oil field friends, and I said, okay, this is what I want to do. Who's willing to be on the committee with me, and let's figure this out. And so really, that's, you know, it was born out of just a desire to have another event that was fun, different than anything else that was being presented. And, you know, and kind of a second benefit of that was I believe in a strongly armed citizenship. Yeah. I said, you know what, this is going to help teach us to actually be better at our marksmanship and defensive skills. Yeah. So it was kind of, you know, dual-fold. And it was funny because, you know, the first year was very simplistic. We were at a static gun range and very simple. It wasn't a typical 3-gun type deal. And everybody just basically brought what they had. By year 2, you saw, you know, we moved into kind of a real 3-gun facility and started stepping up our game. And you saw some people improving their holsters and starting to improve weapons. By years 3 and 4, it was an arms race. You know, everybody was building new weapons and new designs, and it was really kind of fun and really developing their skills. So it was a fun event. So yeah, when it comes to shooting sports, you know, I'm kind of open to anything and everything. But what I wanted to do, you know, my desire with that is, hey, let's do something fun, but let's raise money for great causes. And we did a variety of causes in the first few years, but then we settled in on military groups, and specifically military groups that were taking veterans on outdoors trips.
Yeah.
Combat Marine Outdoors was one of the ones that actually received multiple years of our support, and that ended up being probably one of the biggest highlights of my hunting career, if you will, was getting to go on one of those hunts with those guys and just being able to serve them and really see what an impact it made on their lives. I mean, these guys they were all Purple Heart recipients, had a lot of struggles,
Yeah.
and this gave them an outlet to just relax and kind of refocus their life. And and each one of them came up to me privately and thanked me for supporting that cause and telling me personally what it meant to them. And so, most guys have a little token box or things, mementos, right? And a couple of my key mementos is two of the guys gave me challenge coins. One was a gunny sergeant, which there's less than 200 of them in the U.S. military today. And the other, actually the gunny sergeant gave me his little emblem that they get to wear on their uniform. And then the other was a platoon commander that gave me a challenge coin and really thanked me because one of the other men on that trip was from his same platoon, and he said that he hadn't seen that guy smile in 2 years prior to that trip.
Yeah.
And he smiled and finally enjoyed himself. So,
Yeah.
I think hunting is therapeutic. It's we do it for a variety of reasons. But I think even for us who don't deal with that day-to-day tragedy, for me, it's very therapeutic to get outside of the busy work life and just relax and enjoy the sunshine and the birds and squirrels and
I feel my shoulders,
trees, everything.
The further I get out of Houston and towards the countryside, wherever you're going, I can feel my shoulders drop.
Hunting Matters is presented by DEA Ranch. Are you looking for the ultimate South Texas hunting experience? Then look no further than DEA Ranch. DEA Ranch offers some of the best whitetail and exotic game hunts in South Texas year-round. Whether you're looking to fill your freezer or put that next hunting memory on the wall, their professional guides are focused on ensuring each client has a memorable and exciting hunting experience. DEA Ranch offers guided hunts, professional staff, chef-prepared meals, trophy preparation, and more. To learn more, go to dearanch.com. That's dearanch.com.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm going to get to just unwind and not think about anything. And working with Purple Heart recipients and veterans and stuff changes you. I mean, I've done, several of those hunts as well. And it's, I don't want to gloss over it. The suicide rate of veterans is ridiculously high in this country, and sadly so. But I've seen guys and women too come into these hunting camps who are just like, I got no reason to continue. And then by the end of the weekend, and it sounds kind of cliche, but by the end of the weekend, they're like, this was cool. I might get into this. And it kind of goes, oh, there's something else out there versus me sitting in a dark room thinking about taking my own life or the miseries of day-to-day life. It's amazingly therapeutic, like you just said, that how just being outdoors hunting and fishing is for these veterans. And so I encourage people who are listening, watching, if you can get involved with those types of organizations and help veterans do that, please do that. And I say that from being the dad of an active duty military kid. It's amazing the work that you've done over years and where you've just like, okay, laser focus, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get back to this group. We're going to get these guys and these women outdoors and give them another something else to think about, something else to do in their life. And I'm sure that you don't do it for that reason to make yourself feel good, but boy, doesn't it feel good, just.
And when you go into it, no, you don't go into it for you.
Yeah.
But what I found is, what we get out of it is, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. And it's that personal, it's just an internal thing.
Yeah.
It's not for, outside glory or anything, but it's like, wow, maybe I did help change a life and help really make somebody happy. And, and not only the vets, but a lot of these youth programs,
Right.
Especially with, some of the youth that have never hunted before, same kind of thing. you see some of these kids that I've met over the years that they're kind of quiet and reserved, and you get them into an environment like that, and you just see them blossom.
Yeah.
And and it's very heartwarming.
Same thing. I've seen these kids come from tough backgrounds, and they show up on Friday and they're not saying a word, and by Sunday they're talking. And how do you? I mean, you and I both know Leo Martinez, who's on the board of directors at Houston Safari Club. One of my favorite stories he ever told me is this kid showed up and didn't say anything Saturday, didn't really speak to anybody. Sunday, he ate quietly, kind of by himself, and then Saturday afternoon he sat down with him and he said, "How's it going? Good. Having a good time?" "Yeah." He goes, "Do you have any questions for me?" He goes, "Yeah. How do I do this for a living? How can I be a ranch manager? How can I do this for a living?" And they sat down, they had a conversation, I think, for a couple of hours. The next thing you know, by Sunday afternoon when they left, Leo's like, here's my phone number. If you have any more questions, let me know. Why do you think that the hunting and the outdoors, why do you think it's such a powerful, I call it a tool of healing and recovery in these situations for kids or for veterans? I mean, what is it about it that just, changes people?
I think it's the connection to, what I'll say, connection to nature, connection to reality. In today's world, so much of what happens in our lives, especially the lives of our youth, it's not real. It's digital. And I think getting out and just putting your hands in the dirt and feeling the wind on your face and the sunshine on your back, I mean, it lets you appreciate what an awesome place that we live in. What all the opportunities we have. That's probably one of the biggest things I love about traveling all over, hunting, not just tourism.
Right.
It is the vast landscapes and beautiful waters and mountains and trees. It's fascinating, and I think when you see that, that it just reaches into that inner part of your soul and says, "This is what peace is. This is what comfort is." At least that's how it is for me. And now I've met people who feel completely uncomfortable in the outdoors,
Yeah.
and if you get them off concrete, they're as antsy about it as I am in the middle of a big city. So
Right.
I understand there's different personality types, but for those who are open to it or those who are just really stressed, I don't know of a better place to go or a better thing to do than to get out and just be still.
Yeah.
And be quiet and become part of that natural world.
Yeah, get disconnected from all the chaos of the real world. Nobody wants to imagine an emergency on a hunting trip, but when the unexpected happens, you want the team of medical and security experts at Global Rescue to be there for you. Global Rescue Operations Centers are staffed by experienced personnel, and you'll always speak to an expert on the first call. Global Rescue provides unparalleled capabilities to transport members to the hospital of their choice, not just the closest. So trade what-ifs for peace of mind with convenient travel services designed for the unexpected. Learn more at globalrescue.com/hunting matters. You've been in a leadership position, like you said. You founded an organization in an effort to raise money for veterans. You've been the president of Houston Safari Club Foundation. You've been in various leadership positions in various organizations. And I'm going to ask you this because I know you've had recent experiences having been just the immediate past president of Houston Safari Club Foundation. What do you, in your eyes, what is the biggest challenge about rallying people around a cause?
Well, I'd say the biggest challenge is keeping people motivated. So some of these other events that I'm talking about, like the DFW tactical match, it was a once-a-year event.
Yeah.
So you could get people kind of energized for the month or 2 months that it took to get things prepared.
Yeah.
Keeping people engaged long term, because what we do, our passion's a lot. It's not just a one event a year. This is 365 days a year,
Yeah.
and So I think just that's always been the toughest thing is getting them. They're really eager to help out and do something right now, but then, we all have busy lives now too. There's a lot more things pulling at us today. We have access to a lot more things than I think we did in the past too. So I think in the past it was easier to have just kind of a few things, because you just didn't have access to as much. Yeah. And so you're able to focus and put more of your efforts. Today it's so easy, to go in a variety of directions, and it's what's shiny,
right.
tomorrow,
right?
And what's taking my my focus and my energy. But I think what is great about our organization, what I found about the people who are the most active in our organization, is it's people that have a true passion for the success of our lifestyle, not just the organization.
Sure.
But really, preserving and protecting, that lifestyle, and spreading it to others as we can, and introducing new folks to it, making sure our families participate in it, creating those opportunities for others to enjoy it. And honestly, I think we have to take it upon ourselves to make sure that we're taking time to do it.
Yeah.
And that's something that, to me, I've known a lot of guys who, they hunted when they were younger, and then life got busy for them. And,
sure.
And it's one of those things where you prioritize what's important to you. You will make time for what's important to you. And if this is important to you, make time for it.
Yeah.
In the heart of nature, give your deer the nutrition they deserve with Record Rack Deer Feeds. The premium feeds support antler growth and overall herd health. Whether you're a wildlife enthusiast or a dedicated hunter, Record Rack Deer Feeds provide essential nutrients for a thriving herd. Choose Record Rack Deer Feeds for optimal deer nutrition. Visit recordrack.com to learn more.
Kind of dovetailing that, you've worn a lot of different hats with Houston Safari Club Foundation, various committee chairs and on the board, things like that. What first drew you to the organization? How did you get involved?
So, of course, Houston Safari Club Foundation, I was a member of some of the others in the past, but wasn't necessarily really involved. I might go to an event here or there. Actually, I got introduced to the Houston Safari Club Foundation through a friend of my wife's when she and I got married, and I moved here to Houston. She was friends with Matt Pyle, who's another former president of the club, and we actually met at a different charity event, and she introduced me to him, and she said, "Oh, hey, Matt, James loves to hunt," and that's what started it. So I got a chance to make a new friend who also enjoyed the same passions, and said, "Hey, let me tell you what, there's a whole bunch of us." And I showed up at a Christmas party, was the first event I showed up at, and instantly had people, they saw Catherine and I were new. It was the Simpsons, Jody and Michael Simpson. They saw we were new, didn't know them, but they just grabbed us and said, "Hey, come sit at our table. Let us introduce ourselves." And that's the kind of camaraderie and friendship that I've seen throughout the club. And really, we loved just that whole feeling of welcomeness and, hey, we're glad to have you be a part of this. And, we're people that share common values and beliefs. Let's enjoy spending time together.
Yeah. I always like to ask people who served on the board for several years. You've seen this organization from every aspect, and we do youth education, and we do grants at home and abroad, and we do scholarships. That scholarship's kind of our benchmark program. What's your favorite outreach of this organization, if you have a favorite?
See, and that's where it's kind of hard, for me to say I have an absolute favorite, because I really see jewels in each one. The scholarship programs, that's helping create our leaders for tomorrow, and making sure that there's people there that understand what we enjoy, and we're helping support people who are seeking degrees to help conserve our wildlife and preserve our hunting heritage. The youth program is integral because otherwise, what we love and what we feel is valuable to our society will disappear if we don't have youth coming into it also. And so, I mean, that is extremely important. And I think the grants, what the grants does, for us is, hey guys, we're here to have fun. We're here to raise some money, but we're here to do it to support these great causes that individually, maybe we don't know about.
Right.
Individually, maybe we don't have much of an impact. But as an organization, and we were able to pool our assets and our money, we can really make some huge impacts on, the grants that we choose to support.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point as far as being involved. Like you said, I'm not going to cut a check for this. I'm not going to cut a check for that. But there's power in numbers. So, to your point earlier, joining an organization like, and I'm going to wave the banner, of course, for Houston Safari Club Foundation. But joining an organization like ours, you get to meet some cool people. You get to make some lifelong friends. You get to spend some money, whether it's through raffles, auctions, being at the convention, at the banquets, whatever, and pooling those resources where we are making a difference. I mean, some of the stuff that we do, the scholarship program just stands on its own, but, taking kids outdoors for the first time, or whether we're helping build water wells in another country, or helping to buy motorcycles for an anti-poaching patrol in South Africa, cool stuff like that, that's what I kind of look at the organization. I go, well, maybe, I can't really make to your point, a huge impact individually. But if I get with a whole bunch of like-minded people and we pool our resources of time and money and that sort of thing, with the convention coming up especially, I mean, it's a perfect time to do that. You can really make an impact. And I mean, we've seen some of the letters and things we get back from youth shooting programs or from wildlife conservation projects at home and abroad. The sheep program in Texas, which we support every year, kind of comes back, you go, this is pretty cool. We're making a difference. Are you looking for a smarter way to manage your document imaging and print environment? Dex Imaging delivers industry-leading printers, copiers, and fully managed print services designed to cut cost, boost productivity, and simplify your workflow. Whether you're a small business or a Fortune 500 company, Dex provides personalized local service with the power of a national network so you get fast, reliable support wherever you are. Dex gives back, proudly supporting organizations like Houston Safari Club Foundation by giving through profit sharing. Dex Imaging, smarter technology, exceptional service, proven results. Visit deximaging.com or email Adam Montgomery at adam.montgomery@deximaging.com.
Yeah, and when you see those letters and when you can see that, as an individual, you may not ever see that organization again, or it does, and it can become very personal. I remember one of the projects we supported. We sent a grant to help pay for the fencing project, a rhino restoration project, and back in 2019, I was able to take quite a bit of my family to Zimbabwe, where we did that project, and got to see it, and I got to see the impact on that local village, and there wasn't any hunting around here, but this had to do with the conservation program, because restoring the rhinos was actually, in addition to that, helping restore the whole ecosystem. And that's what we want. We want to see it get back, return to normal. The villagers were talking, they were crying because they hadn't seen rhinos in 25 years because they had been poached out. But they see organizations like ours, who we're hunters. We love animals, I think, more than any anti-hunter loves animals. We just don't have a irrational emotional attachment to it. We understand where hunting plays a role in that conservation.
Sure.
And, so that's really neat to be able to see those benefits.
Did they make you give up your phone when you visited that project? Did you have to leave it behind or turn it off?
No, because it was very well known where these rhinos were, but there was a team of 30 armed men that guarded these two rhinos 24/7.
Yeah. I had a similar thing when we went to Namibia. We got to visit a project, but we had to leave our phones at camp. No pictures. well, we take standard cameras because there's no GPS tracking on that. But they had two guys that in patrol shifts, they walked around with guns, you know, and they were basically living out there protecting these rhinos. But they're such cool animals to see up close. So you've had a lot of memorable hunting experiences over the years. You know, you've hunted with your wife. You've done, I think you guys did 2 safaris in Namibia. You talked about going with your, you know, taking your dad, and you've hunted, you know, a lot of places all over the world. But I know that you recently returned from a trip that, you know, I've seen you show the pictures. People go, you did what, where, and you shot it with what? So let's talk a little bit about that trip, because I want to get into it a little bit as we wrap the show here today. Where was the hunt? What were you hunting for, and what were you hunting with?
So I had the fortune to go to Russia to hunt the Kamchatka brown bear, which, if you're not aware, it's basically it's the brother of the Kodiak brown bear. Just across the Bering Sea, you know, from Alaska is where I was hunting, and in the far eastern part of Russia. They're some of the world's largest bears, brown bears, and I chose to do it with a bow. And
has this been something you've been planning for years, or is this kind of like it?
You know, it's actually I never really early in my hunting career didn't really think much about hunting dangerous game. You know, there was a lot of other things to hunt, but over the last number of years, I've really been drawn to this idea of hunting dangerous game and doing it with a bow. And so I'd been on a few other dangerous game hunts and been successful with the bow. And really, I wanted to do one of these big bear hunts, and just really hadn't thought about when or where. And actually, it was through a prompting of my wife. My first grandchild, we found out, was on the way, and she said, I need a bearskin rug. And I said, okay. Well, we have 6 kids, so we have the potential for a lot of grandkids. And the reason she wanted a bearskin rug is she remembered as a youth, all the grandkids would lay on her granddad's bearskin rug up in New York, which is probably a black bear, and they would all get their pictures taken on the rug, and it was a big deal. Everybody remembers that rug. So I said, well, we might have a lot of grandkids, so we need a big rug.
Sure.
And it was funny because actually
you're rationalizing the trip to Russia.
So actually, so Barrett Simpson was actually at my house when this discussion was taking place, and I said, so we're going to have to do a brown bear, and I said, Barrett, said, Alaska or Russia? And he said, I'd try Russia. He said the success rate is a lot higher. There, the bears are almost the same size, and it would be quite an adventure, and I agreed with him.
Gunworks just launched a new rifle system. It's called Index. It's sized for adventure and engineered for extremes. With barrel lengths as short as 16 inches and a folding stock that collapses to an ultra-short profile, the Gunworks Index fits nicely in a UTV, a float plane, or across the seat of your truck without sacrificing accuracy. The Index features a built-in ARCA and pick rail for use on tripod or bipod, and a night vision rail to ensure you're ready for any scenario. The Gunworks Index delivers magnum capability in the most compact chassis rifle system on the market. Visit gunworks.com to learn more.
So that, I think it was 2 months later, we had our Houston Safari Club Foundation convention, and it was actually at the the event where we have all the exhibitors and volunteers. We were there, and I was talking to somebody, and he goes, well, what hunt are you looking to book this year? And I said, man, I really want a Russian brown bear. And he pointed at another guy who was standing there in the group. He goes, well, here's your guy. That's what he does. And so I ended up talking to that outfitter and booked the hunt. And that was, we booked that hunt in January, and I think it was a month or 2 months later when Russia invaded Ukraine. So that hunt got paused for a couple of years, and I was getting ready to go. And then my daughter informed me that she was going to get married in the month that I would have gone. So I had to postpone it one more year. So so it took 3 years, I had to wait, an extra 3 years to do it, but was able to complete it this past fall. And I'll tell you, as a hunter, we get to, and what I would encourage people, when you go, you really get to see a lot of other cultures, the rest of the world. I love America. I'm a very proud American, but I appreciate seeing other cultures and seeing how other people live. Always glad to get home, but I like seeing it.
Yeah.
There was still some apprehension. I'll tell you, there's a little apprehension about still going to Russia. It's kind of the big, unknown. And even, it started when the whole visa process but when we got there, we spent 3 days in Moscow. It was very easy. Basically it was like we were visiting any American city. As far as like security was. We weren't being watched and followed everywhere we went, which was kind of I'm like, are we, well, yes. But we weren't like confined to do anything, so it was much more relaxed than I was thinking it would be up front.
Well, we grew up in the Cold War era.
That's it.
So we have a fear of Russia.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I was telling somebody. I said, we grew up when Russia was the enemy.
Yeah.
That was our main enemy that we perceived. And but I'll tell you, the Russian people were very friendly to us as Americans. So we and now I'll tell you, if you're going to go hunt, because especially with the embargoes and stuff that we have with Russia, it's a long trip, to get there. So basically we had to fly through Turkey into Moscow, spent a few days in Moscow, then flew from Moscow to Petropavlovsk, which is in Kamchatka, so on the far eastern side.
Oh, wow.
It's I'm trying to remember, I think it was like a 9-hour flight across 8 time zones.
Wow.
So
you couldn't do Alaska and then over.
No, unfortunately. That would make it so much nicer. But no, you have to go the long way around to get there, and so it's quite the travel. But everything was very modern. It was fine. We land. The people that greeted us were great. We headed off, and still wasn't real sure what to expect.
Yeah.
We drove for about 2 hours into the wilderness. Finally got to an old fish camp on a river.
Okay.
We're out in the middle of the country, and there was a boat waiting for us. We all loaded up in a boat, took our gear, about 20 minutes down the river. Got out at another spot, got into an Argo and an ATV where they took all of our luggage and piled all of us in. And then it was a 45-minute ride from the river into the wilderness to get to the cabin.
This episode of the Hunting Matters podcast is brought to you by B&B Taxidermy. Since 1983, the Baird family at B&B Taxidermy have been the premier experts in trophy mounts. Whether it's African, North American, global, or exotic, B&B Taxidermy will provide design, artistry, and attention to detail that you won't find anywhere else. B&B Taxidermy can also design and decorate your trophy room, showcase, or office with custom dioramas built to suit your space. Check out their showroom of exotic trophies on Jones Road in Houston, or visit their website at bbtaxidermy.com. B&B Taxidermy, proud supporters of the Hunting Matters podcast and Houston Safari Club Foundation. Oh, wow.
So we were back there.
Yeah.
It was pretty remote.
Yeah.
But beautiful, absolutely, stunning countryside.
That's cool. That's very cool. Tell us about your hunt. So how many days did you hunt? How many days was it before you got a shot? And kind of talk a little bit about that experience.
So the hunt was for 6 days.
Okay.
And Kyle and I were both bow hunting. So we were paired up. There was a third American that joined us who was rifle hunting. And what we did is we would actually take that 40-minute trek by ATV back to the river each day, and we were floating the rivers. Is what we were doing, looking for the bear, because all the salmon were running. The waters were crystal clear, and you see just thousands of salmon, and the bear were coming up along the edges, gorging themselves on the salmon. So what we would do, we'd float looking for the bear. And that first day, that first full day, I believe Kyle and I saw 7 bear. And what we'd do is, as we would see them, we'd float past, just be real quiet, And usually they would run when they'd see the boat.
Right.
We'd float past, get out of the boat, and then stalk back to where they had been and wait for a bit, see if they'd come out, go into the woods, see if we could find them. Because they were just kind of
Sure.
getting out of visual. They weren't super spooked. We weren't doing anything to intimidate them. So during that day, we made several stalks. I'm sorry, we'd gone the first evening. We saw a few bear, no shot opportunities. So this was the first full day. We'd seen the 7 bear, and Kyle and I would take turns. Since we were bow hunting, we just said, hey, I'll go this time and you go next time. And he put a stalk on a massive, absolutely massive bear that afternoon. Got to within 50 yards, but there was some brush in the way. And we're like, man, we're still early in on the hunt.
Yeah.
It's not worth taking a chance. And it would have been an extreme trophy, but it's not worth taking a chance on a long shot with a bow on an animal like that has the potential to cause significant damage to you if you do something wrong. So the very last bear we saw that evening, we floated past, saw him, he ran in. The guy was like, "No, that's a good bear too." We parked the boat, got out. I stayed kind of near the boat. And Kyle took off with the guide. It was his turn. Went down the shoreline, and it's starting. It's starting to get dark. I mean, it's the sun is fading quickly, and so I typically when Kyle went off, I would just stay near the boat, and I might hold my bow in my hand, but I didn't really make an effort to be ready. Well, this time, I think it was God's intuition said, "Knock an arrow," and so I had an arrow knocked, and they had been gone for probably less than 10 minutes on their stalk, and out of the woods comes a bear.
Wow.
And he comes out at about 40 yards, and we're standing, the shoreline on this river is probably only about 10 yards wide of just rocks.
Yeah.
And then you get into heavy forest, and then, the river. So this thing comes out about 40 yards away. It's head down, walking straight towards us.
Never saw you.
It never saw us or just didn't care.
Yeah.
I don't know which, but and so my mind started quickly, going back to when we were talking with the head outfitter. He had asked us, how far are you comfortable shooting? And I said, well, I'll take a shot out to 50. I'd prefer it to be around 35. And he said, please don't let it get closer than 35 yards.
Yeah.
He goes, these things can really hurt somebody. So that bear comes out.
Yeah,
he's walking.
They can leap almost 20.
Yeah, it's walking towards us. Well, it's pretty
Were you
quickly.
by yourself?
Well, I had a guide behind me.
Okay.
And because when the bear walked out, I looked at him and I'm like, is that a big bear? And he was giving me the thumbs up, like, big bear. And so I drew back my bow, but as an archery hunter, I mean, these things have a massive head. It's tough to penetrate that head.
Right.
As it's walking with its head down, I'm drawn back, ready. He's well within range, but I don't have a good shot at him.
He's not turning.
And at 25 yards, he got up to 25 yards. The guy that was with me got nervous, and I heard the safety come off his Kalashnikov. And if you're familiar with the Kalashnikov, it's a big metal blade, and when that safety comes off, it's a big click, metallic click. That bear stopped when he heard it and looked up at us. I guess decided that he really didn't want to know what we were.
Right.
And he turned to walk into the woods, and that's when I was able to get my shot.
Oh, wow.
So very close range. But it was one of those things too. I shot. I felt like I made a great shot. I had a luminoc. It was dark enough. I could see my arrow clearly disappear where I wanted it to disappear. But, it roars and runs into the forest.
Right.
And so the other guys hear it, and everybody comes running back. And the guides are standing. They're telling us, hey, y'all stand back, in case this thing's wounded and comes out. So they're standing on the edge of the woods trying to look in. It's dark enough in the woods, they don't want to go in the woods. Yeah. And so they decide that we're going to wait till the next morning. and that's one of those things where, I mean, I felt as confident as I could feel, but there's always that nagging doubt. Man, that's such a large animal, and you know, and as a hunter, you know, one of the things that I don't want an animal to suffer, number one, and I don't want to wound one and lose one, and that uncertainty, that not knowing, of man, I just shot one of the largest animals I've ever killed in my life,
Right.
and I don't have my hands on it. I don't know 100%. So I felt good. Now I didn't get a lot of sleep that night.
I was going to ask you if you slept at all.
We got up the next morning. They had a couple dogs in camp that they would use to track bears and really to make sure the bear's not wounded and going to fight back.
Right.
So we got to the spot the next morning, and they turned the dogs loose, and within 30 seconds we heard the dogs barking and snarling, and so we knew it was on the bear, and we didn't hear a bear fighting back.
Yeah.
So he hadn't gone very far. He ran about 50, 60 yards into the woods, and I mean he died very quickly.
Yeah.
The Houston Safari Club Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that supports the future of hunting and conservation. Wildlife and habitat conservation, youth education and outdoor experiences, scholarships, and anti-poaching efforts are just a few of the programs supported by this organization. Monthly events, an annual convention, award-winning publications, networking opportunities, and valuable resources for hunting knowledge are just a few of the benefits of being a member of Houston Safari Club Foundation. If you're searching for a group of people dedicated to protecting the future of hunting, look no further. Join Houston Safari Club Foundation today at wehuntwegive.org or call 713-623-8844.
But then the elation and the excitement of, wow, you know, achieving, you know, not only, you know, one of my goals, but then realizing, too, that bow hunting is still very rare in Russia. It was only legalized in 2022.
Right.
There had been some previous bow hunters years before, but Russia just didn't have any laws about it. And then they decided they didn't want them, so they outlawed it, and they had just initiated allowing bow hunting. So knowing that I'm one of just a small handful of people that's been able to take one of those bears with a bow it's just kind of another feather in the cap that you know really makes you feel like you made a significant accomplishment. But that was cool. So so I got my bear on was that the second or third day? Well, we recovered it on the third day.
Got it.
So got it on the second day of hunting, and then I got to support the other guys as they went on. We ended up, all three of us ended up taking bear.
Good.
So Kyle was able to get his on the very last day.
Oh, wow.
Like with 1 hour left. He resorted to a rifle hunt. Just because we were down to the wire, but he was able to come home with a bear, and so it was very successful all in all. And you know, one final thing I'll say about actually our Russian translator has still been in contact with me, and she said that I just want you to know, but none of the other people in the camp spoke very much English.
Yeah.
You know, so we had an interpreter there, and she said they all think you Americans were the best hunters they've ever had in their camp.
Really?
And, you know, and here again, ambassadors to the hunting world. We treated them, I think, like, I just treat them like I treat everybody else, you know, but I think, you know, in that part of the world, a lot of times the people who are in service roles, you know, aren't really respected. They're just kind of looked down upon.
Right.
And, you know, we try to act like, hey, you're our extended family here.
Right.
I mean, this is
and our means for survival as well. It's funny how you run into that in sometimes in hunting camps. People they're sometimes guides and PHs or whatever. They're kind of resistant, and you know you're trying to buddy up to them because I like to meet people. That's fun, and it's funny that you know when you told that story that they're like, we thought you guys were some of the best. That we're all in hunting camp together. We're just hanging out. We're just buddies. And you guys, you know, one thing I learned a long time ago is you never guide the guide, you know, and so you want to make those people your best friend. And it's pays you and Kyle a high compliment that they thought, you know, that was cool. We'd like to have those guys back.
We were doing our part for the Russian-American relations.
There you go.
And because we were the first Americans that they had hunted with.
Wow.
And but they said compared to their clients that are Russians or Eastern European or they felt that we
Culturally,
were they liked how we hunted, the fact that we really were avid hunters and had respect for the animals and everything around there, as well as just how we treated people. And I really think as a hunting culture, we talked about a lot of the different benefits. I think kids that are raised in the outdoors hunting culture generally are just great kids.
Yeah.
Great manners, respect, self-esteem.
Yep.
It does something, for them and helps raise, good people for our future.
Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree. Well, James, unfortunately, we're out of time, but we could talk about a lot of different hunting stories, but we really appreciate you being here today and talking about your Russia trip as well as your lifetime journey through hunting as an advocate and ambassador. So we really appreciate your time.
Well, thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. And
You bet.
just a final word
Yeah.
for you folks listening as the Hunting Awards Chair. Now, of course, we're done for this year, but next year's coming. Keep a lookout. We're going to be doing some new things, offering some new hunting award categories, and there's going to be a lot of opportunities for everybody to look at what they're doing and set goals for themselves and recognize some of your achievements. So make sure you submit those applications.
Glad you brought that up. Folks, thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode of Hunting Matters, brought to you by the Houston Safari Club Foundation. Don't forget to rate and subscribe to the podcast. We'd love to have you as a weekly follower. And don't forget about convention coming up. You're watching or listening to this, and it's before January 23rd. You still have time. So go to WeHuntWeGive.org, check on the convention drop down, and get all that information. And we'd love to see you out at our annual convention. Thanks, take care, and have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Bye, folks.
Hunting Matters is a Houston Safari Club Foundation production. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. For questions or more information, email us at info@wehuntwegive.org.